that comes to mind, right? It doesn't really matter. It's how we.
Sorry,
Yeah, in construction, sometimes your boss is like, "Get the job done," and he's like, "Yeah, where's the tool?" And he's like, "You make the tool. You don't question me. You get the job done." So basically, what I'm trying to say is a tool can be anything. In questions to reliability, right? Reliability doesn't always matter. What matters is the outcome, the job done.
Does it hurt yet? Or what hurts? The pretzels you've been twisting. Let's look at it from a different point of view, okay? In caused or a man, went kind of crazy cuckoo with this AI model in particular. Framework of AI model within a mainstream supposed safe quote unquote model within 30 minutes to get the and then they use AI to do many things now, including most likely taking some jobs away. So they do put a lot of faith in AI on their hands. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
What do you feel that you have conveyed?
Just maybe some interesting. Interesting questions because I've said a lot of stuff.
In what way do you question your beliefs?
In what way do I question my beliefs? I'll question what happened. I'll question the idea of that thing happening, and then I'll question why it happened, how it happened, and then what could have happened differently. And then I'll make up scenarios where different stuff happens. And then I'll put God and I'll take God out of those scenarios. And then I'll relay that to other people's life experiences or, whatever's going on in the world. So yeah, it gets really lengthy. Essentially, I'm kind of obsessed with disproving God. But besides the whole Bible, argument and blah blah blah, besides that, I'm having a hard time.
So besides the Bible itself kind of contradicting itself, you're having a hard time with disproving God because I'm not hearing how you're having a hard time disproving him. How have you actually tried to disprove him?
Yeah, just not with the Bible in the lens of there's contradictions and it's all garbage. Not with that lens. I've tried to disprove him as in is there is helping me or not helping me. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, is this random, invisible, supposed force doing something good for me or not? Is it useful for me? That's what I want to know. That's what I'm looking for. If he's useless to me, then why the hell should I care about him? If he doesn't care about me, I won't care about him, right?
how is it useful?
How is it useful? Well, the way I can, but then again, you'll You'll attribute it to just random
That's
coincidental.
okay.
Like let's say you're doing a construction job and you're missing 10 specific boards, and then it's 3 o'clock and the store's closing, but then your buddy pops up randomly, hasn't showed up in a week, and he's got those 10 freaking boards on his truck. Wouldn't you be like, damn, thanks God, I get to, but wouldn't you say that?
I probably say thanks, buddy. Like,
Yeah, but would you also discount all the other valuable data points of improbabilities? You probably screwed that word up there, but like you're discounting all the other data points. That the chances of that dude coming exactly at that moment, exactly with those planks, exactly like that, and then if he's a believer on top of that, that's another data point. Like it seems like you're evaluating all those other data points just to prove physicality of no God.
how is it? How is it acknowledging that my friend brought what I needed,
But like I said, you're
discounting anything else?
you're attributing this entire coincidental event to simply your friend showing up when you need it. So it's all your friend, and the universe didn't care about you. Nothing else. There's nothing else.
If if God or the universe wanted to show me that they cared for me, I can think of much more tangible ways of showing that care than something that could be attributed to coincidence.
I fully agree. I fully agree with you. I complain a lot to God. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a happy camper at all. I don't like how he. I don't really like the system, the way he does stuff.
Do you think, Kira asked a great question in the chat, do you think that coincidences ever happen?
Yeah, for sure. There's got to be for sure just regular day-to-day coincidences, but when it happens, when it there that's what I'm talking about. Like there's a certain percentage, there's a point where you gotta question, where you gotta be like, okay, has happened too many times for me to just blatantly ignore it. Because at that point, that's just pride. That's just egoistical thinking that you have all the answers.
Is it pride or is it
It
humility
is.
to say
No.
that, no,
No.
wait, let me finish, please. To say, I don't know why this is the way it is. I'm not going to attribute it to something concretely when I don't know. Isn't that more humility than pride?
That's a false humility. It means that there is no point in time where God can do something for your mind, for your
Why?
human. Why? Because you've said it yourself. You've laid down the law for God yourself. So how can God go
What
around
law?
the law? The one where I don't know. I'm getting slightly confused here. But
Yeah, I'm confused. I don't feel like you're following what I'm saying. I feel like you're taking it in places that I don't understand why you're taking it.
what was the last thing you said?
I asked you what law. You said I'm laying down the law for God.
Yeah, but I mean before that.
Okay, so not the last thing I said. I was asking you if it is more prideful to say, I know that this is why something is happening, than to say, I don't know why something is happening.
Yes, exactly. Because we are not even sure of what it means to know something.
because we're still figuring out what existence is, what creation is. To say that we know all of it, that's not really true. The scientists even admit that they don't know it all. So to say that we can't know it all or that we can't know it, that's also a claim, right? That's
Okay,
also
so
essentially that's laying down a rule.
hold on here, because we literally agreed with each other moments ago that if God wanted to demonstrate that there is care for us as individuals, there is much more blatant clarity producing ways to do that, right? Like we both agreed on this, right?
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Like,
So
essentially,
why
what we're saying is it's kind of a shitty deal on our end, which I kind of agree. You know, it's not a fun experience.
I'm not saying there's much more, like there is a way that there could be much more clarity that we could say, oh yes, God exists and cares for Philly. God exists and cares for digital. Then that's not saying that we have this pride that we would never attribute something to God. That's saying there is a way that God, if God wanted to be known, could be known.
Right, but what I
Isn't
meant is
it?
more the humility part. The humility part where we just say, "I don't know." That's the part where it's a false humility. A robot accepts the truth based on data points and percentages, and a human can't.
Okay, but we just went over the fact that there is an opportunity that God could make it clear.
And that's in that
How
question,
is
yes.
sorry?
For that question, for sure. Like God could literally spawn himself right here and be like, "Yo, I'm God. Believe in me, or you're done, or I love you, whatever." He
Yeah.
could give me a book. I agree, 100%. But it would corrupt the simulation. It would corrupt the test. It would negate everything. It would break.
So why is it, oh my gosh.
Well, we have a simulation, right? Like a sandbox. If he just spawns a pool of gold or something, like it's gonna corrupt the whole thing. Like it's gonna break everything.
Okay. I feel like you've
No, I haven't dodged. Like I agree with you that yes, God could definitely just spawn and be like, "Hey, I'm God," and blah blah blah. Like it would be a lot easier, but he chose to make it this weird, freaking complicated way for odd, bizarre reasons. And I'm having a very hard time to disprove them. And it seems like the world is kind of like hunting him down per se. So I'm interested by this duel. It has my attention.
thank you
Because I'm
for
saying,
engaging in conversation, but I actually can't focus any more of my time on this conversation right now. But I appreciate it.
Durgon, did you have any questions for Digital?
I really tried, man. I don't even know where to start or where to go.
Here, I don't think the conversation was as coherent as you think it was. I hope that maybe in the future we maybe try again. Maybe keep asking questions. If you prove God wrong, that'd be interesting to find out exactly how you're doing that. But I don't feel like there is questioning of belief happening. I feel like it was so much talking past to say points that didn't relate, to make assertions and I'm just imagining a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man spinning out. But maybe that's me. If anybody else has a belief in a god or God's higher power or anything like that, and you're capable of questioning or debate you or argue, I just want to know, if you can question your beliefs, then what is it you believe? And why do you believe it? Why am I still awake? Billy didn't mean to be here. I don't know who was waiting longest. Hello, Symbol.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm good. I tried to talk to you before, but I got too anxious.
You were pretty excited last time we spoke. Can you remind us your age for TikTok TOS?
I'm 39.
And do you have a belief in a god or God's higher power or anything like that?
Well, do you mind if I first say thank you? Because the last conversation we had was really productive regarding my mathematics. So thank you for your help. So I have a new attempt at an argument. So science always works inside existence, and the question of God is not about us instead of nothing. So that question can't be answered by particles or energy or laws, because all of those already assume existence. So if the universe exists, there must be something that makes existence possible without being a part of the universe itself. And that is my hypothesis of God.
I understood the first part about how science seeks the how and God is an answer to the why. Although I would say that most postulations of God that I've ever heard also include how that don't make sense. But also, you said, I think you said, therefore, give me that last part, that conclusion again.
So, if the universe exists, there must be something that makes existence possible without being a part of the universe itself, is my hypothesis. And I'm ready for you to kill it. I love it.
Well, I want to know why you see something outside of it that makes it possible. Why?
I'm just gonna make sure I said that better. I want to make sure that I clarified that I mean part of or outside. So there must be something that makes it possible, either within or outside. And I think that because the universe.
Okay.
Yes, sorry about that. I didn't mean to fail you.
No,
because
it's okay.
the universe
You said
cannot.
a part from. I thought you meant apart, like outside out, away from.
Potentially.
But so it's either outside or inside, and it makes it possible.
Because the universe cannot explain its own existence without circularity, and science explains relationships within a universe, explains how states follow their other states given laws and conditions, but any scientific explanation already assumes a universe exists, laws exist, states exist, mathematics applies, and those are not results of the explanation, they're prerequisites, right?
I'm sorry, it might be my fault. Can you say that again?
Will you, tell me how you stay so calm? I'm so jealous of you.
I wish I could give you the secret sauce. It just is.
Listen, well, I think you're doing. I think you're doing great. No, I'm kind of with what you're saying a little bit. I do think that it usually get
You're cutting out a bit there, Durgan.
Shit, it's always like this. It's always this. I'm so sorry.
But now it's when I pointed out that.
Okay. I think the question, when we ask the question why, we're for intentionality. I don't think that there's necessarily a room to ask the question why science. We usually ask how. And how is almost likely to be so I do think that the point you're making true. You can't really use science to go into the philosophy of theology in that way. But I do think that philosophy is kind of important because it's used a little bit in science also. But I think it kind of wraps up a little bit of what you were saying and where you're coming from. Is that accurate?
From what I was able to hear, I believe you're catching what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I guess intentionality is the condition that makes explanation possible, and the minimal definition of God becomes God is not a thing with intentions. God is the source of intentionality itself. Does that make sense? They're not a mind thinking thoughts inside time, but the reason reality is oriented towards coherence rather than nothing. So not necessarily mythology. That's the smallest assumption required for science, reason, and existence to make sense at all if you think about it.
Why would you call this God?
Because that's a good question. Why do I call that God? I don't know what else to call it. Do you know what to call that?
Why do you assume that it is a singular it?
You know, I honestly don't. I need to fix my wording, don't I? Because I don't know what it is. I don't know how many it is. I don't even know, like, if it's in or out.
Could it be an as of yet unexplained principle or state of things. It simply is, and will be
Potentially.
measurable. Is this model falsifiable?
Yes, I would assume so.
How would you falsify it?
How would I falsify my own idea? I think I would say that it is, 1 second, let me, sorry I'm taking so long. The universe exists for no reason at all. So existence is brute, unexplained, and fundamentally irrational. Would that work? Or, sorry.
Why does irrational have to be part of that?
I like how you make me think, because it tends to hit a boundary, and the clearest, most direct explanation using scientific language only. So reason works by relating to things inside the system, right? Causes explain effects, laws relate to variables. So you would, if the universe, if you ask why the universe exists at all, and you are no longer reasoning within a system, you're asking about the precondition of all systems. And at that boundary, normal reasoning cannot continue in the same way, right? So this is not a failure of logic, it's a limit of what logic is designed to do.
Does it mean that it must necessarily be irrational?
Well, if it can't be tested, modeled, or derived within the universe, is it rational? Because I thought irrational versus non-empirical, huh? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that is one other way to look at it.
I don't understand what you're saying. Will you please help me?
So, if you're saying that it must be irrational, and we're talking about the defeater here for your proposition of God, can you give me the other key points you had there besides irrational?
I'm basically saying that either
it's your model of God, or it's something that always existed, or just
for no reason.
existed,
I also
so it's
want to
irrational.
fix saying that you have to call it God seems a little presumptuous on my part, but maybe something higher than us. Does that work or no? Or some things higher than us?
So in that, does this something higher, does it need to be like it's not, if I'm remembering the way you've outlined it so far, it's not necessarily a thinking independent agent, right?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about, because you know how like the ocean deep down has different frequencies and different to be alive in the different frequencies. So like, for instance, layers of water, like different organisms will be found within. Well, me believing that everything is kind of a harmonic, um, and that everything has like those little boundaries and everything's in layers, I would not be surprised if there is something outside of our personal little layer of the universe that's even bigger than us, like the organisms in the sea, except higher up. Potentially. I'm so weird, I'm sorry.
We get lost in the sandwich once the layers start coming up.
I'm sorry.
Well, and layers of frequency raises another question.
Let me pull up the layers of the ocean so it's more clear. Because if I give you the actual words instead of just talking randomly like an idiot, it might help.
Right. Well, are you ocean in different layers live there because of the frequency, some kind of, and what is being measured as a frequency in those layers?
Well, I think wavelengths are different depending on where you are in the ocean. And so I'm trying to pull this picture so I can sound less idiotic.
I don't think you sound idiotic, Symbol. I don't think you sound idiotic.
Thank you for being so nice. I know that dealing with anxious people can be annoying. All right. Here we are. And it even has the creatures. So I looked this up on Google. So if I say something wrong, it's because it's Google. I'm sorry.
Sure.
So
but blame them.
So the trenches. So it's HADALPEPAGC has like sea cucumbers and larboard fish and starfish and tube worms. And the frequency and the everything there, the geometry, like how everything moves down there is different. The atmosphere is different. And then you move up another layer and you hit the abyssologic zone, the abyss, and then you get like squids and shrimp and sea stars. And each layer you get different creatures. And even if you mix the layers of the ocean, they go back.
So these are at different depths, right? As far as layers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are these do you think these habitation zones are because of some kind of frequency, or could it have more to do with pressure and resource availability?
Well, I think the frequency and the pressure and all of that is what decides what resource availability is there. And what, like if we were to go...
What is the frequency that you're talking about, though? What is being measured as frequency?
So each layer I am so happy that you are making me think, because it's helping me a lot, believe it or not. So what's being measured is time scale of change, not existence itself. So when I say each layer has different frequency, we're measuring how fast structure can change while remaining coherent at that level, because anything that exists has to complete its oscillation. It has to close its oscillation. Like for instance, yeah, you cannot breathe for a while, but in general, if you don't like eventually close that oscillation, you'll die. Or unalive, sorry.
I'm sorry, close the oscillation. What is oscillating?
Everything. Atoms, everything. And a frequency is always a measurement of repetitive per unit time, nothing more. Nothing metaphysical or anything.
Sorry, but repetitive per unit time. So when we're talking about different layers of the ocean, what is being repeated over time?
The oscillations within the water.
The
So it will oscillate
oscillations
differently.
within the-
And then coupling can only happen if the oscillations and the geometric structure fit. But now I'm talking more science stuff, and I'm not really talking religion. Sorry.
Well, I'm wondering if all of this actually, like, how does this relate to the God belief in any way?
Well, in a few ways. I think that kind of like layers of the ocean, or how there's layers in the atmosphere and layers in outer space, I think with that, different creatures probably exist in different parts of our universe or outside of what we know as our universe. Thus, I think there is something bigger than us with a mind. I also, the other potential argument, we'll see what you think, is that we potentially could be a system, but parts of that system that, like, there's God, but there's multiple gods that, like, there's different, I wish I could say this better, but that there's different, I don't know how to explain, I don't know how to say what's in my head that you gave me. I'm sorry. Different.
You were describing the forces or the actions that inspire or push the processes of the universe to be the way that they are. And
You're so smart.
My question to you was why you were unifying it into a singular thing and calling it God, if these were processes, multiple different aspects of what is, and why, if these are just principles of what exists, do you deify them? Why elevate them?
Everything's seeming to link together, like everything, and it all
Doesn't that
seems
make
unified.
sense within a system for things to
But the universe is not
interact?
a system, is it?
I don't know if it's an open or closed system, but is it not a system? How
I
is
don't
it
know.
not?
Let me look. Is the universe a system? You should look too, because who knows if the source is correct.
Oh, to me, I mean, it's just going to
It
depend
says-
on how you're defining system.
No, the universe is not a system. What a system has all of the following: boundaries, inputs, outputs, internal states, roles of interaction, conditions for persistence or failure. So like an atom, a cell, a brain, economy, galaxy.
And
All
we
of
don't know if the
these
universe has
are inside
boundaries.
reality. So they operate within conditions. Because of that, it cannot have external boundaries, an outside environment, inputs or outputs, external roles acting on it, failure conditions in the usual sense. I think we should check a few different sources on the question, though.
That's a good idea, Symbol.
And you know what else? You know how you said we don't even know if it's a closed system or an open system? And especially with black holes, like, because I personally ponder, are we like one of the layers in the black hole? And that's the system? Like, who? It's so, like, interesting. Or is it an organism?
Does it matter to you if the processes within our universe are deified or have agency?
No. All that matters to me is I know if I don't want to continue, I can dissipate in space when we eventually blow up. I know that sounds really gruesome, but if I don't want to keep doing this BS and I don't want to recycle along with all the other stuff, I can dissipate, and I like that.
If you don't want to be.
Well, no, I mean, like, after the Earth explodes and my body's like part of the Earth. That's true.
Yeah.
I can like my like whatever is, because I mean we still have signal even after we pass.
Signal.
Whatever that is. Let me look up how I should say that better. Help me say in better words. We still have symbols. We still have signal after we die. Thanks for not making fun of me for my horrible ability to put words together.
I'm not making fun of you, Simple, but by saying it the way you said it,
no, you're awesome.
I'm curious why you would use signal, and I, of course, have ideas of what you could mean, but I don't want to implant those.
That's why it's so helpful you're doing this. Thank you. When a person dies, the organism stops maintaining itself, but signals produced during that life continue to propagate. So memories in other brains, changes in social structure, information stored in artifacts, casual traces in physical and information systems. From scientific perspective, signal does not require a living source to persist once emitted, but that's not what I was looking for. I wanted to look for the fact that our bodies still produce signal. Body.
I see. Because the way you just described it sounded, I have to say, both,
stupid?
Well, no, it didn't sound stupid. It sounded kind of poetic. It sounded absent metaphysics, obviously. It was just talking about the impact that you leave on the society and the physical world around you, and the way that you're remembered in the media or the information. It had a poetry to it, but it definitely
it's not what I wanted.
It definitely wasn't the near metaphysical idea that I think you're trying to reach.
I think I found it. So the body is a signal generating system, so it continuously produces physical, chemical, electrical, and informational signals that propagate beyond the body itself. So a living body does not just exist, it emits signal, and then even after you die, it's still like movement, heat, sound, chemical exchange, neutral activity. So like we have like this signal even after we're gone. So I assume that after the Earth explodes, and if I don't want to do this crap anymore, I could just dissipate into space. It's just something that makes me feel better.
Right, I understand. So do you believe in any kind of traditional afterlives? It's sounding like you don't. But
oh, fuck no, that's stupid. There is a castle on a cloud. Like, really? Sorry.
Maybe I missed it, but is this signal conscious?
I don't know. I wonder if there's a way to find out. Is the system conscious? I wouldn't think it would be. I don't think we're necessarily conscious after we die in the way we're conscious now. I think it's kind of like, you know how you have bacteria on you right now? It's not like you're not conscious of the bacteria. It's just there. Or skin cells. But I don't know. Is the system conscious after you die? And then there's mermaids, and don't forget about the mermaids, because those are real. And then there's a dolphin that tells you how to like be a good person, and it lives in the clouds. All right, so no personal mermaids. No personal biological system continues after death, but the effects and signals produced by the system do continue. So I don't think that it's conscious in any form. Because your metabolism stops and your neutral activity stops, coordinated information processing stops. So the body is not generating new organized signals.
So when those things stop, does the signal also stop?
No.
Why not?
Because I will try to explain this again. Like, your skin, like when you're dead, it's gonna still give off like heat or so after death, the biological system ends, but the signals and effects it of right now continue to propagate through reality. So I wish I could explain this better. So dead body signal. So I know heat is one initially, but I'm gonna grab you like a list because, and it's not like crazy amazing. So heat loss is the body equilibrium. Sound from movement of pressure changes, mechanical forces as tissues relax, gases released during decomposition, chemical diffusion into soil, molecular breakdown products, like there's a bunch of them. You could look it up and it's just like on how it does.
Are you using like when you're typing, what are you typing into?
A few different sources because I don't trust any of them. That's why I told our friend, like, maybe you should look too about the system thing. Google, ChatGPT, Bing, whatever's there. And then normally I don't necessarily believe it right away. But I mean, you'd think it's kind of like obvious that a dead body would produce a signal. I mean, just with like the fact that the heat will dissipate or the nutrients will go into the soil, or even if you burn it, it will create, yeah. I'm not saying it's like a conscious signal though. And then we do become a part of the earth, don't we? Or a part of the water wherever we're put. Or is that not accurate?
So the heat dissipating is part of the signal.
Well, after death, signals are passive. Does that make sense? Not self-maintaining, so dissipative. Decomposition is a signal. A signal comes out of it.
Okay. So the signals don't last forever. They end at some point because there's no more heat in the body to dissipate or no more flesh to break down. Sorry, that's gross. But that kind of thing?
I would agree individual signals probably don't last forever, but I would assume their effects are never perfectly erased. So, because it propagates, it transforms and dissipates, and that's what I think the whole universe does, is it just recycles, it dissipates, and then recycles. That's what it looks like it does anyways.
I don't know that I have any more questions right now, Symbol. I really appreciate the answers that you've given and the thought that you do put into it, despite using AI and Google to help you in the conversation. Usually I frown on that, but I do appreciate the way that you've engaged with it today. So I don't have any more questions, and I don't know if Philly does, but I am on my way to bed, I think. I've been up for far too long.
The last thing I wanted to say is interaction leaves trace even when the form is lost. And that's what memory is. It's that trace, in my opinion.
That was the other part you had talked about earlier, about the all around you. Is that what you mean by trace?
I don't think that impact's very important. I think the main impact that we leave is that we help the universe continue oscillating when we explode.
It's a delightful thought.
I know, right?
Yeah, I want to question more, Symbol. You posit a lot of things that are worth questioning. And if Philly's got any more questions, I of course will.
I like that she really dug into what I mean by signal. Thank you. Thank you, friend.
I would love to talk to you further. I don't know that I have more questions immediately though, but I
Let me
hope
give you a
that you
present.
stick around. Oh,
There you go. Thank you guys for helping me with my studies. You're amazing. And thanks for helping me stay calm.
Appreciate you, Symbol. I hope you
This
keep
was really
asking
good for me.
questions.
You have a good day, sir.
You too. Take care. W's for Symbol. Doing her God's work. Because her God is just processes of the universe, so she can't not do them. But also asking questions. I think that's helpful. Thank you, Philly, for asking your great questions. Especially when I could not ask any more.
yeah.
There were a couple of those moments. But I appreciate you as always, so I'm going to go ahead and set you down so I can get to the poem, because I am...
And then you can go to bed. Yeah, go to sleep.
Definitely. Hopefully, I'll be on some kind of time tonight. If not, then you can always find us in the Discord. The link tree is in my bio or in the Batcolyte's bio. Either one will take you there. You just want to make sure that when you get there that you read the rules. Otherwise, it might look a little lonely. But if you do read them and you can agree to them, then you should find out that you're not alone. And if you stumble across the Venmo or the Cash App in that link tree and you want to show your support that way, it is always appreciated. It does make all the difference. And it means the world. So thank you guys so much. Yeah, I want to pontificate on all of the things that happened in this very long life, and all the conversations that were fruitful and the ones that were not. But I think there's really only one thing left to do. They tell us faith will chase away the night. They promise certainty will make us right. But hollow comfort isn't proof of youth. They say a watching sky decides our fate, a cosmic parent judging love and hate. But fear of death is not a sacred sign, and terror dressed as hope could still be a lie. They preach the silence answers every doubt, and questions are what faith should be without. But strength is not pretending to be sure. It's facing what is fragile and unsure. They claim a plan exists because they need it so, and call imagination something we must know. But wanting isn't evidence of anything at all. It's only proof we're frightened of some impending fall. They speak of souls as if they've seen them fly, and swear eternity must bloom when bodies die. But saying it is not the same as fact, and belief doesn't change what remains intact. They turn uncertainty into sin and punish doubt as if it rots within. Yet every honest mind begins with, wait, what if the answers aren't so great? They wrap their myths in sanctified command and hope authority will make them stand, but claims without the weight of reason break. No holy book can force a truth to wake. So let us question gently, sharp and deep. Let courage guide the thoughts we choose to keep. For doubt is not destruction. It's the spark we start with then. And the strength to ask again. And on that note, until the next time we meet in darkness and seek wisdom together,